I would like to be in a place where not worried. We're not necessarily paycheck to paycheck, but we have some pretty decent expenses. Again, we bought in a nice area. Childcare in school is super expensive, as I'm sure you
Hmm.
know. It'd be nice to be in a place where we have income coming in from outside or revenue coming in from things outside of work. So
Hmm.
investments would be great. Building up our, 401ks, SEP IRA, just based on how my structure with my company is, being able to shuffle enough money into there, thinking through, retirement at some point. But 5 years, realistically, depending on how things go, that could definitely be a time where we're looking at properties. My partners in our company have plenty of rental properties, and just talking with them about the benefits of having some of that kind of recurring revenue income.
Welcome to the Real Estate Mogul MD podcast. Thanks for tuning in and taking control of your financial future. This is a show where we not only motivate and inspire, we give you actionable real-world experience to help you live life by design. You'll hear journeys and stories from other physicians, investors, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Brett Riggins. Today's guest is Dr. Michael Perisa, a board-certified pediatrician and owner of a thriving direct pediatric care practice. He's navigating student loans, family life, and practice ownership while exploring his first steps into real estate investing. Here we go. Hey, Michael, welcome to the show. So happy to have you here, and we're ready to get this conversation rolling. How does it feel to be
Yeah,
Michael today?
it feels pretty good. It feels pretty good. Yeah, I had a interesting patient this morning, so care before this, but yeah, I'm excited to chat.
So interesting piece about that. And I just talked briefly before we came on about shifting gears, and something
Yeah.
that a lot of us on the outside of the medical world don't see or don't get to experience. I mean, you may go from room to room if you're in a clinic, but here, going on a home visit may be a little different. But you literally have to change gears, and you
Yeah.
have to pick up from what could be maybe the worst scenario to some going into an opportunity to help somebody in a different way. So,
Yeah.
how much stress does that create in your life?
Yeah, earlier on, a lot, and even still now, still quite a bit, but over the years, gotten better at finding ways to sort of off-put some of that stress.
Mhm.
So thinking through like compartmentalizing to some degree, but not so much so that you depersonalize any of those interactions. But at the same time, really just focusing on self-care afterwards. So like
Mhm.
exercise is a huge stress relief for me. I know on weeks when I'm not getting too much exercise, I can feel it. But yeah, making sure that I'm taking care of myself outside of those interactions. And I think using the positive, the good interactions, the good outcomes to kind of drive you to through that next experience
Yeah.
has helped.
So, talking about getting personal here, tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about your medical journey so far, where you started and where you're at.
Yeah, interesting one, I'll say. So I knew I wanted to do pediatric medicine from the beginning. I fell in love with pediatric cancer from the start. I went down to a cancer camp down at Cincinnati Children's. I saw the patient population there. I'm like, wow, these kids are really sick, but they're out here having fun in the summertime. Like, this is amazing. I want to be part of this. So that passion kind of drove me through medical school and through residency. We had our first child, who's now 6. We had him right at the end of residency. I had matched into pediatric hemonc down at St. Jude. Wonderful place. My wife and I had the discussion kind of applying for fellowship with like, is this still something we want to do? The answer was yes. So we proceeded with that. Shortly after starting, we had a death in the family and some pretty major family health issues. Being 13 hours away with the 1-year-old, I'm like, my son needs to be able to know his grandparents, know his cousins.
Mhm.
So it didn't feel right. So pivoted a bit back to just general pediatrics, which brought me back to Northeast Ohio. I signed on with one of the bigger hospitals up here in one of their outpatient clinics. It was great until it wasn't. So 18 months in, just getting burdened with 30 to 40 patients a day during sick season, RSV, whatever else is going around. I just got so burnt out with not being able to provide the care that I truly felt I wanted to as a pediatrician for my families because of the constraints with insurance-based repayment. Around that time, the person who hired me for that job had pivoted to start a direct pediatric care network, the first pediatric direct primary care network in the country. I reached out to him. He pitched it to me. I'm like, this sounds amazing. Like, why is this a newer thing? And why hasn't this been such a thing for so long? I've absolutely fell in love with that. It's been a little over 2 years now. Doing that home visit, as we had talked about before, that's the beauty of direct pediatric care is we can meet families where they're at. There's no billing of insurance, so I don't need to bring patients into the office to take care of them the way that an insurance company dictates. I really deliver the care that I best see fit and meet that with the family's needs too. So when our families sign up, they get 24/7 direct access to me, texting, calling, emailing, anytime, day or night. We do home visits. We have support services included, lactation supports, psychologists, sleep specialists, nutritionists. It's more of a kind of whole child, holistic kind of approach to care. And it just feels right. And it's been great.
That's cool. And it's cool to see the smile on your face
Yeah.
when you're talking about that too. So DPC, direct primary care, but we're talking about direct pediatric care, right? So
Yep.
that's kind of like it's same acronym, but
Yep.
it's a different thing. But it sounds like the same kind of product there too, but it's
Yeah.
aimed at a younger patient, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we'll see kids up through college. We say 25. I remember going to my pediatrician in college, seeing the dinosaur stuff on the wall. I'm like, I feel a little out of place, but I know
Yeah.
this person, and I
Yeah.
have a good relationship with them. So
Yeah.
just thinking through, like, I struggled with anxiety through college. It would have been so great to be able to text my doctor and be like, hey, this is going on. I know this person. I don't need to try and find a new provider in this kind of stressful time, a bit more intimate, somebody who knows me. It would have been nice to be able to have that connection.
Yeah. I want to bump back in your journey there. You actually you talked about being there at St. Jude,
Mhm.
and wow, what a cool place. So I've there's just something in me. I think maybe God has different plans or some bigger plans for me. Like I want to help so much. Like
Yeah.
it just tears me apart. Like when you said they're out here having fun, like all they know is just goodness, right?
Yeah.
And honesty, and like it's just so cool.
Yeah.
So I pray that I'm able to become the person that I'm supposed to be. So at some point, help in a bigger way. But
Yeah.
St. Jude is one of those places where it's like it is absolutely remarkable. I get goosebumps even talking about it. So taking care of the children who, by no choice of their own, have been affected by these massive illnesses. So in Memphis, it is literally St. Jude has a massive hold on that downtown area, and
Yeah.
they're adding on to the properties now, and it's massive. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I would love to get your feel on the real estate side of that in Memphis. One, as a physician coming in from out of town, what did you feel like? I'm moving to Memphis. What was your first thought?
Yeah.
Be
I
honest with
didn't
me
know.
now. Be
Yeah, no,
honest.
I didn't know much.
Don't caution. Don't no hold anything back.
Yeah, no, this is a safe space I've heard, so that's what
Yes.
we'll go with it. Yeah, I didn't know much about it, honestly. I knew it was in the South. I'd heard some, crime issues like you hear about any,
Mhm.
bigger city. We ended up buying a house in Cordova. So kind of with the real estate thought backing. So we bought and sold 4 houses over a 5-year period, going from Columbus to Memphis to Twinsburg, Ohio, now to Pepper Pike, Ohio. My wife mentioned that if we moved again, she's going to end me. So if that happens, it's documented now. So we have been in the real estate, buying and selling of houses, and we had a great experience there. Like a little north of Memphis is where we bought Cordova, like I mentioned. Sidewalks, we had a pool in our house. It was nice. I loved it being down there. I think it was about a 15 or 20-minute drive. And I'm sure Memphis has changed quite a bit even from when I was there. I left in 2020. But yeah, they were making huge strides in kind of improving the downtown area and, trying to make it safer. But yeah, St. Jude it's an incredible place. The things that they can do there and just the fact that patients and families don't pay anything outside of what their insurance covers is incredible.
Yeah. That's absolutely remarkable. So in that journey too, so I have very extensive knowledge in the real estate of Memphis, in the rental area, and in that area where St. Jude sits, it's rough. Like it is rough area,
Sure.
and just to the west, there it's rough, and just it's just like it sits in there. And when I go there, I'm seeing this like, oh my goodness, how do the physicians like coming from out of town come in and feel? How does that feel? Because that crime rate you're talking about, you can feel it. And there are certain areas in Memphis where it's like, it is not safe. Yeah. Right. Where there are other areas where, it is completely like Cordova. So Cordova is actually is east of the Memphis area. And as you go farther east, there's Germantown is a big
Mm-hmm.
one, Cordova, that side, Collierville. It's completely different than it is downtown. So
Yeah.
yeah, buying in that area, you probably did pretty good on your real estate too over there in that area, right?
It was incredible.
Yeah,
Just like the housing value went up even from when we bought in Columbus. Yeah. It worked out nicely, but yeah, having to move a whole bunch and then paying for
yeah,
movers
yeah.
hurt a little.
So from the real estate side is different than the actual emotional and the family
Yeah.
side of
Yeah.
moving. And it's
Fair.
not like per se an investment when you're moving around like that.
Right.
But you mentioned two towns, Columbus and in Memphis, and specifically in that side of
Mhm.
Memphis, yeah, the appreciation is great. Columbus in the past, what, 5, 6, 7 years has just been exploding as well too.
Yeah.
So two great areas, and moving into not necessarily smaller areas, but not quite the size of Columbus or
Right.
Memphis where you're at now.
Yeah.
Now, how about tell me in this journey where you're buying and selling real estate, more of a necessity than intentional investment? Where does your family sit in the investing in real estate side?
Not, I don't think any really. And my
Mhm.
parents had, I think they had a lot kind of somewhere where we grew up, that didn't end up doing anything with. They were planning on selling it. Some developers were planning on coming, but outside of that, not too much. Yeah. So I utilize the physician loans for all of our purchases. Just,
Mhm.
being a resident, don't have a whole lot of, back money to be able just to drop on a down payment.
Yep.
So without that, I wouldn't have been able to purchase any of the homes that we have or
Right.
had or have. But yeah, not a whole lot of investing. I know I would love to get into it more once
Yeah.
things stabilize, but not
Yeah.
quite there
So
yet.
tell me a little bit about what that means then. When you say you would love to get into it more, what are
Yeah.
the things that are going through your mind right now?
Yeah. Paying down student loans. So all these high
Mhm.
interest loans that we had picked up kind of along the way, making sure we can pay those off first. And then with some of the disposable income or investment income that we have, potentially looking into, buying a condo, having that kind of recurrent, monthly payment someone's renting out from us. I'm relatively handy. My dad was a bricklayer. I did some carpentry work, some electrical stuff. So I feel like I'm handy enough to be able to manage some of these things. Obviously, knowing when I don't know something, need to reach out for help. But I think having that understanding, it's less frightening going into potentially, buying one of these places to then rent out if I can fix up some of the stuff myself.
Mhm. Awesome. And in that thought, so I hear you saying maybe a condo as a rental. And that way we can detach our time from our money, being careful that even though we can do things, it doesn't mean we should do things, because
Right.
then it's requiring my time in
Yeah.
order to get my money piece. But building that foundation is really important, Michael. Like you're saying, hey, I can know I can do this. I know I can do this. That knowledge base is also really important, because then when you're looking at a repair bill or a recurring expense, like, come on, like, why are we doing this? Like,
Yeah.
that's important knowledge base to work from. But I always caution everybody too, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should be doing
Yeah.
something. So when we're looking at these investments, kind of like reverse engineering in a way where, hey, I can do this if I want to. Because I've had so many like surgeons and like so many physicians on the show, they'll come in and they'll be changing toilets or changing flush levers on toilets. And it's like, it's because they want to. So
Yeah.
having that
Yeah.
ability because you want to, not because you have to, is completely different. And we get to that path by understanding the numbers of the investment. So tell me a little bit about your journey and your thoughts so far on, hey, how do I know if my money's going to perform, or what kind of condo? Should it be a condo? How do I get, where are the investment objectives at for you?
Yeah. I think, again, probably a decent bit in the future. But thinking through area, I feel like is a big one. So East Cleveland, kind of where we are, a little bit further east, bigger hospital systems there. I went to Case Western, which is in a great part of like University Circle there in Cleveland. It seems to be a happening area with a lot of rotating people, like
Hmm.
different residents coming in. So I think finding an area like that where there's a lot of foot traffic, weighing out, safety, I think is probably a bigger issue too. But at least my local area, I feel like that would be a pretty decent hotspot, just given what I had mentioned there.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I'm not drilling down on you at all of this. I just
Yeah.
love picking up
What
because I
street am
love
I going to be on? Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
like sharing because your journey is not this particular piece getting
Sure.
into real estate is not different than so many others that are listening to the show.
Yeah.
So I love sharing that piece to see, hey, where are we starting from and
Sure.
how can we help each other out? So that's why I love drilling into the thought base here.
Yeah.
Interesting. So in Ohio, I like the idea of going, somewhat in your backyard, so that way you know the area. Yes, the
Yeah.
area is super important because let's bounce back to Memphis one time.
Yeah.
If I can literally be 2 blocks over and be uncomfortable, right? And that affects the rental base, that affects the price, that affects
Sure.
everything. So if you're in your backyard, especially when you're starting, it's a great place to come up with. And you know what? So I've got a real estate acquisition company as well. And we're doing one in Dayton, Ohio,
Mm.
where we are wholesaling and making a great fee on it. And and then the flipper is also going to be making a great return on the flip. When I think about Dayton, I don't think like, hey, that's a great market to flip in, but
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
about the little neighborhood that you're in,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So great thought on knowing maybe staying in your backyard just to get started. And then where does that lead us, Michael, as far as, hey, take me 5 years down the road and just remove all the limitations? Like if I said,
Sure.
hey, Michael, not about the money or the
Yeah.
debt or
Yeah.
anything like that. Tell me where you want to be as an investor. In
Sure.
what asset class is that? Like, what's the picture perfect scenario for Michael and your family in 5 years?
Yeah, so my wife actually just quit working. So right now we're it's a bit of a tumultuous time, but we're stable enough for that to have happened, and I'm so grateful. We have three small kids. 5 years down the line, potentially adding another one at some point here, but we'll have to get back to you on that one if
Yeah.
that's actually in our
The
future.
three have to behave first.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
days I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
can't do it. No, I would like to be in a place where not worried. We're not necessarily paycheck to paycheck, but we have some pretty decent expenses. Again, we bought in a nice area. Childcare in school is super expensive, as I'm sure you
Hmm.
know. It'd be nice to be in a place where we have income coming in from outside or revenue coming in from things outside of work. So
Hmm.
investments would be great. Building up our, 401ks, SEP IRA, just based on how my structure with my company is, being able to shuffle enough money into there, thinking through, retirement at some point. But 5 years, realistically, depending on how things go, that could definitely be a time where we're looking at properties. My partners in our company have plenty of rental properties, and just talking with them about the benefits of having some of that kind of recurring revenue income. It seems like something I would love to get into in 5 years. I think would be a reasonable time point.
Awesome. So many pieces in that I could just like start picking into and say,
Yeah,
okay, listen here, you've got opportunities all around you right now. So just figuring out, hey, where do we want to go? Where do we want to be? Because the money's not going to keep you from getting there. The time is not going to keep you from getting there because there are other physicians doing it already.
sure.
So when I hear your story, I instantly think, so even the partners inside of the practice right now, are they considering selling any of their units, right? You could negotiate like a seller finance deal where
Sure.
it's an awesome scenario where it doesn't require the money. You could leverage their experience,
Yeah,
and leverage their equity at the same time. So those are just little things where you could jump in instantly and start sooner
yeah,
rather than later. Because if you look back 5 years from now and you look back today and say, hey, Michael, what if you started today?
yeah,
Like, how cool would that be? Because the equity, and you can imagine the house you sold in Columbus, the house you sold in
yeah,
Memphis, that equity position in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it's a cool place to be. So
yeah.
think outside of the box and think about who can I talk with today to
Sure.
where it still checks all the box. Where congratulations on the three kids as well.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Congratulations on the wife
Yes.
being the stay-at-home mother and taking care of the children. That's awesome as well too. And congratulations on thinking about the fourth.
Yeah.
We know how that goes as well too. But with
Yeah.
all that, you got to just keep all that in mind. And I encourage you to say, hey, those opportunities are out there to start sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And the juggle is, okay, because I've got the practice, right? I want to keep growing those things.
Yeah.
And I've got my family. And then in the world do I juggle all of this? But I think it's the times where we could just say, hey, to the partners or something, hey, would you ever I mean, this is a crazy idea. Would you ever
Yeah, yeah,
consider selling one of those rentals? What would that look like? Have you ever heard of seller finance before? So just those little conversations, it wouldn't take much out of your day to have things like that.
sure.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I think we have a great relationship. So even if the answer was no, like I feel like it would be met with plenty of not a whole lot of standoffness,
Yeah,
isnish. But yeah, I think it would be welcomed and at least kind of talking through and probably excited that at this point where I'm at, thinking through some of those things because they're all about
absolutely.
developing all of us as kind of a family, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, and that's awesome. And I mean, I like into the flips and all. Like I had closed on a property 2 days ago, and I had both my kids at
Mm.
the table with me. And my daughter, she's 10, and she wants to sign. She wants to sign. I'm like, well, you can't quite
Yeah,
sign there
yeah,
yet.
yeah,
But it's cool. The more that we can involve the family, like you say, whether it's the practice family or the
sure.
family at home, is so cool to bring everybody in and start this stuff sooner. How
Yeah.
can physicians start this sooner?
Knowing about it, I feel like, I mean, I don't know along the way where I had picked up something like this. I think my dad managed some properties when he was quite a bit younger before us. So it might have even been from there that I just had some kind of secondhand experience from it, or at least hearing about it. But I think just knowing that it is an option and thinking about, how or when can I bring this into my portfolio, if you will.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And another great way, as we're talking, like popping into my mind, always telling physicians, hey, it's not about the money thing. You are literally surrounded by money. You are surrounded by high income earners. So the opportunity to use OPM, other people's money, to structure deals that make sense for you. But again, coming back down to the knowledge, you got to know the investment, the acquisition equations. You got to have multiple exit strategies,
Sure.
looking at worst case scenarios. So leveraging that stuff through blogs and podcasts. When you're walking or
Yeah.
exercising, it's there. It's possible, right? So, and whatever uh, relationship you can leverage too is a great way to do that.
Yeah.
So, how do all this blend into your medical path? Like, you see yourself kind of like starting your own practice at some point, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so how our company is structured, Zest proper is a management service organization, so we all function under our own LLCs. So my practice is my practice now,
Nice.
and it's nice being able to have the support from my group, but also the financial support to set up our office for us. Manage. There's not a whole lot of overhead because it's just physicians and patients, so there's not a lot of like day-to-day expenses. So it's nice now functioning on my own and being able to dictate my own schedule.
Hmm.
Like knowing when my kids are getting into more sports, like growing up, because my wife and I are both very into athletics. Our kids are super excited about it, given that mom and dad did it. Being able to shift a patient here or there if I need to be able to make it to a meet or something. And given the close relationships that we have with our families, they know us as a human, not as just somebody they see once a year. They're texting with us all the time. So we have a better relationship with them. It's much easier to flip things around if need be. Like I said at the beginning, it's been amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely recommend it for any physician who is feeling a little burnout. Yeah.
Mhm. So another great opportunity then, being a practice owner yourself on the real estate side, depending on the area that you're in, with cost, but that's another opportunity to invest in both avenues, right? You invest in your practice by owning a
Sure.
building, and you invest in your real estate portfolio by owning a building.
Yeah.
And there's some massive tax advantages to that as well too. So super cool stuff. And hey, where can the listeners find out more about you and this direct pediatric care model that you guys
Yeah.
are rocking out right now?
Yeah, so zestpeds.com, zestpeds.com was probably the best jumping off point. We're on the social medias too, Facebook, Instagram. You can connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to direct message me that way. But zestpeds.com is probably the best jumping off point, just packed with great information. Additionally, we do autism evaluations too, which I know is a huge need for families, and that's been a big part of our practice thus far. Is we're growing that too because we have the time to do it. We got the training. So there's some cool stuff on there if you guys have time to check it out.
Very cool. And if there is one thing that a real estate investor could hand you that would make you feel like you just expedited your journey by 2 or 3 years, what would
Sure.
that one thing be?
Yeah. I think potentially one of the rental properties, like we had kind of been discussing in
Mm,
the areas that we were thinking about, or paying off the mortgage too would be great if
mm.
that's an option.
Yeah, yeah, paying off the here's 100, here's 200, here's 300, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, that opportunity. So, I think it will happen, man. And the more, and I talk about this all the time. I think it's the actual definition of abracadabra is speaking something into fruition. Now, when you go into these conversations, you're going to start hearing things pop up and opportunities.
sure.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable. And the idea of talking about this stuff is really important because it attracts what you're talking about. So
Yeah,
keep the conversations rolling, man. Keep it up. You're doing awesome.
thank you.
And appreciate what you and your family do for all of us who also have children and taking
Yeah,
care of them. So thank you so much for your time today, Michael.
yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it was relatable and honest. I was just really diving into the real world attack that we've got going on here. And this is a great conversation with Michael. Our conversation today reminded me that, hey, you don't need to have it all figured out to start investing. And conversations and relationships can be the bridge to opportunity. And finally, freedom starts with knowledge and action. And it just takes one step at a time to get there. You have the opportunity. You have everything surrounding you right now, whether you're just getting started or scaling down. Everything you need is right around you. It all starts with building relationships. Everything you need is probably within your reach already. Thank you so much for listening to us today here on the Real Estate Mogul MD.